Connecting stream software, going live. You're live is what we're seeing here. YouTube says that we're live. It takes a few moments to get everything together, get all the things. I'm getting the analytics up on my screen. But we'll just chill for a moment here, chat a little bit, let the stream warm up a little bit, sort of jump straight into a YouTube like this. Some people are going to be coming along. We've got the rest of our team. So yeah, the Combat Ready team, we got a bunch of our team who will be watching and contributing as well. They could be jumping into the Zoom, or they could just be watching via the regular YouTube link as well. I think for us today, the chat is the place. The YouTube chat is the place to put your questions. Looking for some questions. I'm going to be discussing with my Combat Ready colleagues, but we're absolutely open to anybody else who's coming in. And the reason I'm also setting it up like this, because we will leave this stream live. We will leave it up on YouTube so that people will be able to watch this later. We intend this as a listening platform. Sometimes there are streams that you don't want to watch back. So getting a few invite. Do you see, Martin, do you see the people coming to the Zoom? I'm getting some pop-ups here. He's going to work on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. We're letting our Combat Ready team in here to the Zoom. So this is one of the first ones that we're doing in English. And what we're trying to do is share some of the learnings that we're making here. So Combat Ready, we want to share what we know. We want to spread this knowledge around because we think that there's tips on leadership, this advice that we are teaching, and the lessons that we've learned the hard way. My colleagues like to say that they've learned these lessons in blood on the battlefield. Sounds pretty intense when it's just my dumb accent saying it. I've learned these lessons, like in the intensity of the stage. For the stand-up comedy. Good. We're getting some people here, getting the team coming along. So we want to share a bit. So we've got this thing called the Combat Ready Online Academy. We've had this running in Estonian language version for some time. And this is our online learning platform where we've recorded a number of different courses where you can get a subscription, log in, and watch these sort of long form videos where we go through and talk about these topics. And that's worked pretty well in Estonian so far. And we are about to launch the English Language Online Academy. Remo, my colleague, and I have recorded the first course. I've been busy editing that for the last 2 weeks. And what we're trying to do is get more of these learning contents up on that platform, these streams. We're going to be having some mini essays and having it a place where we can connect. We've got a Slack channel for communication as well. So we are developing this. We're getting there with this. And today we're talking about a book called Tribal Leadership. So we're a big bunch of nerds. You think all these military guys are all these tough dudes running around the field, jumping out of helicopters, crawling underground, eating ration packs. That is true. However, learning is important. Learning is a constant task. And this is one of the things that I have understood coming into this military mindset, that it's not all Rambo what you think. It's the constant improvement. And we have a little book club. We help each other with these learnings. And this book, Tribal Leadership, was nominated by my colleague Martin, who you can also see on the screen there, coming to us from Tenerife. Not rubbing it in, hashtag humble brag down there. And this book, Tribal Leadership, that I'm going to be speaking about today, it is a book about helping you rate and helping you understand the level that your team is working at. So I'm going to be relating this back to the lessons that we teach here at Combat Ready. So Tribal Leadership helps you understand, is your team working really well, kind of well, pretty good, not so good, doing great, top level stuff. And it's giving you tips along the way. If you say, okay, my team is working at level 3, okay, it's got finite tips for how to push us to that next level. It's got finite tips for how to get us up the rankings. So with Combat Ready, the material that we're talking about is something called the 4 Laws of a Battlefield Leadership, 4 Laws of Combat. And those 4 laws of combat that we teach in our consulting and in our classroom on the battlefield, we're teaching the 4 laws, which are cover and move, means teamwork. Second one is simple. Got to have a simple plan. Everyone's got to understand the plan. We've got to know where we're going. Ideally, it's the team who comes up with the plan. Prioritize and execute. We've got a lot of things to do. We need to find the most important thing to do, and we need to be doing it. And finally, the idea, the culmination of these 3 first rules is decentralized command. And this is where the team understands the purpose. They understand the why. You told them why they're doing the project. And they understand the end state. They understand what winning looks like. They understand the goal. They understand where they're going. They understand how to know when the project or the goal or the project is over. When the team understands the why and the team understands what winning looks like, then the team is able to execute that project, that plan, whatever that may be, on their own. And you don't need to be micromanaging them. You don't need to be telling them what to do every day, because the team understands why we're doing it. They understand the purpose of the organization. You've got values in your organization that help you guide decisions. Team comes up with something that's not in the plan. That always happens. So the team has to go through this process for themselves of working out, well, okay, plan fails as soon as you step out the door. That's how any plan goes. So the team needs to not come back to you every 5 minutes. Hey, boss, what do we do? Hey, boss, what's next? If you told them step by step, okay, do this, then do this, well, they're going to come back to you every moment and ask you, hey, what's up? But when we give the team the purpose, when we tell them what winning looks like, and when we've got strong values in our organization, the team can make a lot of these decisions on their own. When, as a leader, you've given that responsibility to them, deliberate responsibility. Often when we consult with companies and help out their leadership teams, they say, well, Combat Ready, hey, we need you to come in because we want our staff to take more responsibility. We need them to be more independent. We need them to be thinking more for themselves. Can you come in and talk to our staff? We go, yeah, sure, we can do that. But the secret is, actually, we start by talking to leadership. Responsibility has to be given. And this is what we're working towards with decentralized command, that the team can go away, execute on the plan, and everything here is a balance. So we're not looking for a team that never reports in. Well, I'm not saying to the team, go away and finish it. I don't care. Decentralized command says, you guys know what you need to do. You have all the stuff that you need to implement. Go and implement. If you have a problem, you know the values. I empower you to make that decision. However, if there's something that you really can't come across, if there's something that you think I should know as a leader, if there's something you want to run up the chain of command, you think that I might need to know, then absolutely come and talk to me. Because as a leader, I want to be looking up and out, big vision, core values. Where are we going next? If I'm not the CEO, maybe I'm a subordinate, middle-level leader in an organization. Well, I need to be talking to my boss. I need to be doing the best that I can to support my team. I need to be looking up and out. And so you want your team to be working on the projects. And this book, Tribal Leadership, helps us along that way. The 4 laws of combat are beautiful. 1, 2, 3, 4, simple, clear, and concise. Decentralized command. But what are the levels of that? How do we know when our team has got excellent decentralized command? How do we know when our team is maybe a little bit? This is what Tribal Leadership, the book, has helped us. And I really think this is an excellent extension course, the excellent topic to look at straight after we have looked at the way the 4 laws of combat go. So what I'm going to do, the way we're going to do this structure is I'm going to talk a little bit, probably for about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes max, about, like, give you a bit of a presentation. Yeah, I got slides. Yeah. I'm going to give you a little bit of the background. And then after that 20-minute mark, we're going to be going to discussions. I'm going to be talking with the Combat Ready guys, and I'm going to be taking some of the questions from the chat as well. I see some people in there. Tony Escobar, how you doing, mate? He's coming over. I was also publicizing this stream on my personal channels. I'm a massive nerd who loves retro gaming, old video games. I was talking about that yesterday. I was streaming about retro video games with my friend Steve. Today here I'm streaming about leadership. These are my two favorite topics. I love doing this. So thank you for joining me. Write your questions into the chat. And then when we get to that section, after about 20 minutes, we'll have a discussion and we'll certainly answer them. So we're looking good. Let's pull up some slides. There's Tony. We're loving it. Rebo in the chat. He's one of the colleagues, one of the co-founders, along with Martin, of Combat Ready. All right. I have a master's degree in computer science, but can I work out Zoom? Can I work it out? We're going to... And let's share the screen. How do I pull that up? Here we go. Share screen. I'm going to share the presentation. Share. That's going to be coming up now. All right, let's talk about we got this tribal leadership thing. What does it mean? How does it work? Also, I appreciate my slide does not fit the whole screen. That's because I use a weird square monitor. Look, Tony knows what I'm talking about. I use a 4x3 monitor. Doesn't matter. The nerds know where I'm going with this. All right, let's go a little forward. Tribal leadership and tribal leaders and a tribe. So their definition of tribe is 20 to 150 people. It's bigger than a team. It's not just your team. It could go larger. Now, can we have a tribe that is larger than 150? Absolutely. Can these things grow? But things get more difficult above that amount of people. You might have different tribes, sub-tribes. Then you get into some really teams of teams, as the good general did say. But let's just say we've got about 20 to 150 people. And what's different to a team or a tribe or a group or a bunch of people? The tribe is about the culture. You may remember the old saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Okay. Basically, that means if you've got a good team, if your team is switched on, and they know where they're going and they know what's up and they know who they are, you will beat another team who has a brilliant strategy. It's thought out. It's amazing. It's sharp. It's precise. But if they don't work well as a team, your good team will win every time. And that's what we're saying in that third line there, that what we're trying to do, these tribal leaderships are about culture. It's not about setting some amazing plan. We're going to do all these precise things. It's about the way that people relate to each other. So tribes have tribal leaders. And the term tribal leader as well is quite specific. It's not just leader, because a leader can be anyone that leads. But I'll give you another example. A dictator is not a tribal leader. Tribal leaders are leaders that are elected by the tribe. Now, that doesn't mean your boss, the CEO, is elected. You didn't all stand around and go, okay, who's going to be the CEO of the company? It means that we choose to follow them of our own free will. Well, you might say, well, if you're an employee, you got to follow the boss. Yes, but I could begrudgingly follow the boss. I could kind of do, and as soon as he leaves the room, I'm looking at YouTube or moving things in my own direction. A tribal leader is someone that the team comes around because they want to, because they identify that this person is saying the words of our tribe. And this is an idea I'm going to come back to later, that how do you know, how does a tribal leader work? Why is that different to a normal leader? Tribal leaders, it's all about the words. So they are saying the uniting words. They're talking about culture. They're talking about values. And one of the points I'm going to come to a little later is when we top level teams have values and purpose, you might kind of get that idea. But top teams and top tribes, one way to spot them and spot the real tribal leader is that the values are not plastered all over the office. You've been into that startup and every bit of paper has the value on it. The back of the business card, it's plastered on the wall. It's in the break room. And that has to happen when you're at a lower level, when you need to build those values up. But top teams don't need to plaster the values everywhere because the tribal leader and indeed the tribe is talking about those values all the time. That's one of the tips to know at what level are we working at. And the last thing, this point about tribes, I love. This is probably my favorite point here. Tribes always have more power than the leader. This is what I meant. It's not a dictator. Tribes choose the leader. Even if I choose to be with that CEO. And this is a great point that my colleagues from Combat Ready who were in the military, were in the special forces, working at a top company is like special forces. You got selected. Not everyone can go and work for that top company. Not everyone can be special forces. And you choose to work for that leader. All right. So tribal leadership the book describes these 5 stages of where your team is at. And the idea of categorizing your team is that you can understand where you're at. And there are things that you can do to nudge your team up to the next level. It's no use being a 3 and then we're going straight to 5. You get my point, right? So that's why the stages are important. So I'm going to make a quick summary of the stages. Stage 1, I bet you're not at. All right. Stage 1 is more like stage 0. Stage 1 is like bad. It's not just, oh, I've got a terrible job. Like stage 1 is literally, I'm in a gang. We're a bunch of criminals. My life or my health is threatened all the time. So why is this? Probably your company's not at that stage. I don't think your company is quite like a gang, but we needed a baseline. So stage 1, and if you're in a gang criminal, just you're looking out for your health or your life mentality, you can't think of anything else. No one's working as a team. Stage 1 says all life is crap. All life sucks. Just everything's terrible. I can't see a way out. That's stage 1. And we're not going to focus on that because really most of us, or where we're looking at, are not at that. It's a different sort of problem to solve if you're there. Stage 2 is starting to get to where we're a little bit more something we can relate to. Stage 2, disconnected and disengaged. This is Dilbert. This is The Office. This is Patty and Selma in The Simpsons working at the DMV. We do the work, but we don't really like it. We do the work because boss is boss. We love it. They actually make this point in the book. If you love Dilbert, if you identify with the Dilbert comic, you might be in a stage 2 company. So stage 2 says that life could be better, but my life is bad. So stage 1 said all life is bad. Stage 2 says, this sucks, but for those other guys, life is better. It's a victim stage. It's a stage of blaming. It's a stage where you think, well, the boss tells me what to do. This is life. And this is a lot of companies. There's a lot. I'm sure we've all worked in some team like this. We do it because we have to. We do it because we're being forced. There's no goal. There's no purpose. I feel like a victim. I feel like I can't control myself. That's a stage 2 sort of thing. And the book says 25% of companies are in that stage. Yeah, I believe that. We've all had some experiences, something like that. So one other way to visualize the idea, my life sucks, but other people's lives don't suck. Some other guys have got it better. Stage 2 says that I'm alone and no one's there helping me. Now, the next level up, stage 3 is what you might be more familiar with and what a lot of you might have thought is a good organization. Or another way I'd like to think of is when I was younger, I thought this was the top. Stage 3 says, I'm great. You've now seen something else. Life isn't bad. I feel like I'm in control. I feel like I'm going somewhere. I feel like I can make a difference. I feel like I can do something, but it's about me. So I'm great. And by extension, you're not great. I'm singular. I see the value in me, but I don't necessarily see the value in everybody else. And the irony is that this stage starts to manifest itself with some of the smartest people in our society. Because when we take a profession that's highly trained and you need to work a lot to get that, we tend to elevate those people. So very, very broadly, doctors, lawyers, high-skilled technicians, or what about the rock star coder if you've ever been working in IT? That's who this stage is. Now, they're all good jobs. I'm not knocking doctors, don't get me wrong, but you can imagine the stereotype of the doctor who thinks they know everything, a little bit arrogant, doesn't even want to listen to the nurse, when a highly trained professional starts getting, and the thing is, they might be winning. We're not trying to say this doctor's in the backwater and floundering in their career. This doctor's doing really well. They're highly respected doctor. Maybe I wrote a paper, maybe I'm getting awards, but it's still person-centric. And what a person at this stage is looking for is they're looking for, what can the other people do for me? And another way to think about it, and the reason I put this picture up here is because they're looking for individual connections, one-on-one connections. I network, sure. Hey, I'm a super switched on guy. Everybody knows me, but I do one-on-one networking, even in the company. Everybody just talks one-on-one to each other. And we're going to contrast that later on, that later stage companies start to use what's called the triad. They start to work between each other. They're all interconnected, talking to each other. So this is stage 3. It's all about me. And most companies are like that because, look, when I graduated university and I was 20, I thought this is it. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to do the things. And even as an only child, I can see these qualities coming out. Yeah, sure. It's me. I'm trying to be great and I'm trying to do it on my own. And it's taken me a long time to get these higher level ideas in my head because I'm an only child. Didn't sink in. So how do we move forward from there? How do we go up the chain? Because stage 3 is often categorized by ego. I think I'm great. I'm kicking ass. I'm getting all these awards. Maybe you're very successful. Maybe you're the CEO of the company and you're very, very successful. Company's doing well, but I'm that CEO who's got the vision and I'm leading and we're going where I'm leading everybody. So how do we move on from that? And the reason I've got this here, because the book likens it to the epiphany, to the religious experience, to the awakening. Something happens to that person to make them understand that as successful as they are, or maybe they're not successful, that the current plan of centering it around me, of thinking that what can you do for me, of thinking I'm so great, that this plan doesn't only gets you so far. Let's put it that way. And the epiphany, the mind-opening event that makes people think maybe there's something else. Maybe it doesn't have to be like this. Often this comes with age. That this is a study thing, and I can certainly get it. I had no idea about this sort of stuff when I was young. But okay, you get a little older, you start thinking, where's life going? Is life all about me? You get a family. You start to understand, there's this unit. When we work as this unit, we can come to better. And then the brain starts ticking over. Well, maybe that applies at work as well. And these things start happening. So age can be one of the epiphanies. Or it can be you're just so super successful. You get to some level and you realize you can't do it all yourself, that you need a team around you. There's only so many Elon Musk's, Steve Jobs, Larry Ellison's in the world. And I'm not even sure I want to be one of those people who's so super smart. I got people helping me, but do we really work as a team? So I put this here to think of, it's the epiphany that something needs to happen to yourself that you think we want to do a little more. So there's the stage 4. And this is when you start really understanding thinking team. And the graph here shows us it's no longer demonstrated by just one-on-one connections, that everyone's talking to everybody else and we're collaborating on all sorts of things, and that the value comes from us getting together and working on these ideas as a group of three. So the book talks about the triad. There's usually in stage 3, it's like one-on-one. What can you do for me? We're working together. Stage 4, the one way to identify it is when people are working in groups of 3. That for groups of 3, and when we've got many groups of 3, all of a sudden our organization, our team has a lot of interlocking parts. Then it's not a hub and spoke anymore. So the stage 4 is saying, we're great. The team has something to do. Now, there's a little kind of caveat to that as well, because stage 4 to stage 5 is a little bit harder. Stage 5 is the highest. Stage 4 is also saying, we're great, but they're not. We've got a great team, but hey, we're better than them. We're an awesome team. We've got a great goal. We're better than the competitors. We are making the most profit. We're doing that. So stage 4 is categorized by stuff that you might have kind of intuitively understood. Big causes, noble causes, core values. We're going to talk more about in our discussion about core values. Teams got to have core values. This is like I was saying with the 4 laws of combat. The team needs to know the why. They need to know what the end state is. And if I want true decentralized command, my team needs to very clearly understand the values, because that's how they can make a decision on their own. They don't have to come back to the boss and go, what do you hear? I don't know which one we should do, because you can look at your company values and it should give you a much better idea about what choice you should make in that moment, because we're going to make a value-based decision. So stage 4 is talking about that. Stage 4 is many more interconnected parts, much more networking happening. And part of the skill of the tribal leader who has shepherded their team up to stage 4 is that the tribal leader is always talking, always going on about values, always speaking about values. And that's how things start. That's how it goes through the entire team. And the tribal leader at stage 4 needs to always be finding a new way to express the same idea. Because, you don't want to hear the same words from your leader and over. So they're always finding a new lesson, always finding a new point. And that's one of the difficulties and the key aspects of a leader working at this stage. So again, it's the tribal leader, that this person, through their words, are coaching and coaxing and herding and shepherding and helping and mentoring people. If you want to be that tribal leader who's doing it, you have to be talking all this stuff all the time. You have to be doing all of this stuff. The book defines a stage 5, that it's the top of the top. And I struggled when I read this book to understand what stage 5 is. The first thing I understood about stage 5, this upper level of teamwork, this upper level of how our tribe can be, is that you don't always live at stage 5. Stage 5 is like a burst. It's a sprint. It's something that we do for a period of time, but we don't just live at stage 5. And this helped me kind of get it a little bit more. It's not some goal that we are always going to be there. Their observation was that the top teams, the top tribes, are like really high performing stage 4. And then at some stage, there's a goal. There's a champ, like a sporting team. It's a championship. Maybe it's the big final game of the championship when all the team has to come together, put in really the most effort, and then they can win that game. But you're not always at game 7 of the NBA finals level pumped up. Your team can't always be working at that high level. We need to back off a little bit. We've got to have a little break, have a off season a little bit for a while. Then we come back as soon as the season starts. So stage 5 is this stretch goal that we're working towards. And I struggled to put stage 5 into better words because it's often hard to understand the lesson in a good example. When you hear of someone's struggles, then you can often hear the lesson much easier. But when things go well, when things are great, it can be hard to work out the lesson. It can be hard to work out what it is. What is this amazing level of greatness? How do you put it into words? And if it sounds like I'm not describing stage 5 very well, it's because I feel like I've intuitively understood it, but it hasn't got this definition. It's our peak that we work out for a while, and then we pull back, and then we go forward in a sprint. It's everything coming together. It's the sporting team who work for the championship. So it's got all the things of stage 4 but better. We've got even more networking. Our team thinks that life is great. It's not just we're great, life is great. Another little sign that you could be working at an upper stage 4 or stage 5, the team doesn't talk about the competition. It's no longer speaking about, well, what their profits are, where we are. You're looking forward. You're looking at what you're doing. You've got this big goal. And we don't always have to be looking around and reacting to our competitors. So this is another little sign that your team is like that. Also, that your goals are not finite. They're not necessarily a number in a spreadsheet. Your goals could be a little bit more abstract. Now, abstract goals are hard because we're going to work towards it. And the example that I've got is from Comedy Estonia when I'm running my stand-up comedy production company. Now, I don't want to say that we're working at stage 5. This is not my point. Certainly not. I have a lot to learn. But one small example where I can see we live that is early on in Comedy Estonia. When we first started 10 years ago, we were trying to develop the stand-up comedy in Estonia. And so if someone said, who's your competition, Louis? Who's the competition of Comedy Estonia? We might have said maybe the other comedy troupe, maybe some improv guys because they've got a show on at the same time. Maybe it's some actors who are doing a theater play and no, we want the attention instead. I would have defined who our competition is against the other people in the industry. But after 10 years and a lot of soul searching, a lot of development and reaching some big goals, I redefined who our competition was. And now I say that the competition of Comedy Estonia is bad comedy, is comedy that's presented badly, not bad jokes. I mean, maybe a bit. But the enemy of Comedy Estonia is poorly presented comedy with no joy, with just slapped on, with no effort, with no love. We want good comedy, comedy with heart. That's who we are. And this helped me have a more enlightened view. So when you've got those sort of ideas, these are the signs that you're working at the upper levels. All right. So they're the stages. Let's quickly go through some of the ideas that I'd latched onto in the book. So how do we improve ourselves? They really focus on this idea of relationships, and that in a stage 3, a lesser performing organization, it's always one-on-one because it's about me. How good am I? Where am I going? What are my personal values? And it turns out that turns to form one-on-one relationships. You might have that with a lot of people, but there's still like, I work on a project and I talk directly to one person, and maybe you're the boss. I talk to this subordinate, this subordinate, this subordinate. But there was a characteristic of higher performing teams that the people were interconnected. So I'm talking to that person and that person, but they're talking to each other and they're talking back to me. And I'm talking to these 3 guys and they're speaking back to me. And we're working in these collaborative groups. And this is a little bit of this decentralized command, because I don't want everything to come back to me as the leader. I want my team to work it out. I want them to talk amongst themselves. You get given the mission, you know how to work it out. I want them to have to go speak to other departments. They can go and do it. So the triad is a concrete, I think, example of the way decentralized command might happen in practice. when our teams, when we don't have these silos, when others can talk to each other. So think about that when you're looking at your own team. If I'm a leader, can my people freely work and exchange ideas? Can they come to me with new ideas because their link in the triad is just as important? It's one way to do it. So I like this graph. It's a little bit nerdy. The tribe is saying that when we've got a cluster of these, when different people are talking to different people, that's when we're forming these really strong tribal bonds. Maybe this more academic description of the tribe helps you get your head around what this is meaning. Stage 4 thinking. Go a little bit more of this. How are we thinking at upper levels? Noble cause, core values. This is what I'm going to be talking about in the discussion section in a moment, because core values and noble cause, they're one of my favorite topics because I hate business talk. I hate all that stuff. Like, oh, these are the values of our organization. And you look at the values and it looks like it got spat out of, I don't know, ChatGPT. It looks like marketing came up with those values. Like I was saying, a key indicator of the level of a company, if they have to print the values and plaster them everywhere, that and not talk about them, this might be a sign that we're not really living and working those values. If your core values are several pages of bullet points, this is another indication that maybe we haven't defined them correctly. I also like this idea that we express life as outcomes rather than goals. Now, a goal, and it's really a nuance of English that this is. So amuse me for a moment with this nuance of English. A goal is something we're achieving. A goal is in the future. We got to have goals. We're working towards things. But what happens when we don't get there? What happens if we're always striving for the next goal? You kind of understand that a little bit. That's not always good to always be striving. We need to be happy where we are right now. An outcome is also a little bit more reflecting like, yeah, it happened. We're here right now. We're doing pretty good. We're okay. So it's sort of this definition of saying, yes, we're focusing on the long term. Yes, we've got a goal, something where we're going to, but also we're focusing on who we are right now. We're talking to each other. We're feeling good about each other. And the high performance teams often look like they're yapping to each other too much, often look like they're talking to each other too much. But it's actually, that's the key. That's the special sauce that's making that team so great. Why isn't my team just going away and working diligently and getting the job done? Why are they talking to each other? You're right. Yeah, maybe they might be talking about the weather or the sports or something. Or maybe they're talking to each other, bouncing off ideas, working out a better way to do it. So when they actually go and implement, bam, they've got it right away. All right, last ones before we get on. Remember, there's 5 stages, and there are things that we can do at every stage to prod us along the way. So if we're in stage 3 and it's very I-centered, you need to be presenting as a tribal leader, big goals, big visions. If your team is at stage 3 where everyone's thinking about themselves, you need to create projects and environments where they can work as a team. You need to give a person at stage 3 a project that is bigger than themselves. They have to work as a team to get it done. So we can encourage them to work as the triad, not just the one-on-one. And this is why it's called tribal leadership. You have to do the hard work. You have to be talking to your people. You need to be saying this. You need to be living this. You need to be guiding them and doing these things. So we can nudge people along. If you're at a bad organization, team level 1, you just got to make some connections. One-on-one connections are good when you're at level 2. By the time you get to level 3, it's time to make triads. So I'm going to relate this back in a moment. As I said, we're having a discussion. So to remind us of the lessons that we teach here at Combat Ready, based off the work, of course, of Jocko Willink, Leif Baden, Echelon Front, if you follow those guys, the 4 laws of combat, which I've described in cover and move, teamwork, have a simple plan, prioritize and execute, and then our goal is decentralized command. So I think those 4 laws of combat are excellent at helping you grow your team and helping you grow as a leader. And the tribal leadership is giving us like a scorecard of where we're at right now along the path to decentralized command. And it's nice because if I'm at level 3 or level 2 or level 4, it's giving me tips about how I can boost us up to the next level. So are you pretty good at decentralized command, or are you great at decentralized command? That's what tribal leadership is going to answer for you. And a lot of the mindsets for victory that we speak about, they were involved through the tribal leadership. Extreme ownership. It all starts with me. That's the core of it. It starts with the tribal leader. You need to set that tone. You need to live it. You need to talk it. You can do it. If you're working in a big company, affect the people around you. If your team is at level 2 and they're feeling pretty jaded and cynical, just live it. Eventually, you'll pull in somebody into this way of thinking, create a one-on-one, then the next person. Then you guys start getting stuff done. And then everyone looks around and goes, how come they're getting stuff done? Okay, we're going to be default aggressive. We're going to get after it. I want to change. You're default aggressive because you're here watching this stream. Of course, we need to innovate. Humility. This is what I was speaking about, that when someone's at high stage 3, it's about them. I am great. I'm really good. I can pull these things through. And we say at Combat Ready that humility is the number 1 quality that a leader needs, because without humility, I don't think you've got much. So we need that humility to step up to level 4, to say, all these people around me, when we work together, we contribute more. And when it's not just about me, we actually get more done. And it's even better because it's not on me. I love the idea that I have a combat ready team around me. I love the idea that it's not just about me. And I had this lesson when I was coming to Combat Ready about 6-7 months ago. I knew I've known these lessons, the 4 laws of combat mindset. I've used them. I've lived them in Comedy Estonia. And I'm a trainer, so I wanted to teach them. I got some customers. I got some contacts. So I started to do a little work, giving some talks. I was a singular leadership consultant. Okay, I got some, but I have to market myself. I had to do some sales. I had to make contacts. I had to go into the company. I had to work out. I had to do the video. Then I had to do the stream. Oh, I hated doing all of it on my own. In Combat Ready, we get a chance to live these values every day. We get a chance to practice this with each other, help clients. I don't have to do all the sales. We've got sales experts doing that. Now I get a chance to do the bit I love the most, which is making content for you, standing in front of customers, talking with you guys, chatting, networking. So that humility to work as a team is huge. Discipline equals freedom. Well, you're here. You're disciplined. When you can try and struggle to get yourself up to the next level, you'll feel better. All right. That is my overview of this. We've got a few people here. We've got some chat here. So we'll take a moment, a little bit of a breather. Let's go over to chat there. All right. Thank you very much for watching. So Martin was talking about, can you hear me, Martin?
I can hear you very well.
Great. So you were talking in your chat, there's the connection holocracy. Now, that you said this kind of sounds a little bit like holocracy concept. Isn't holocracy the concept or theory that says that we don't actually need a leader, that the team can lead itself if everyone's talking to everybody else?
In a way, yes. But why I actually recommended this book and why I made this note right now is that it's the whole tribal leadership book. It's a great proof of the tribes, or like the it's another theory. I'm not going to go in details, but actually, by the way, a spoiler for the next Combat Ready event, I'm going to talk about living systems and how the living systems theory helps us to understand the companies and understand the issues they might have. But what it means pretty much is that as in tribal leader or leadership, the tribes exist whether we want it or not. And the holacracy talks about the same thing, that we have a lot of connections between people inside the work, or also outside, and we don't really understand them, and we don't control them, never. And there is no need to control them. They exist whether we want or not. But if we understand them at least a little bit, then we can use it for our benefit. And it's called the living systems, pretty much, that the systems kind of develop and evolve and so on. They're living on their own. So as a leader, we don't need to control them. We just have to work or like understand how to live in those. And the holacracy is actually just one example or one theory how to explain the same thing. And it just shows very well that how many connections inside any community there are like pretty much tens or hundreds in a bigger system. And the better you know your people, the better you understand them. So that's one of the reasons I really like this tribal leadership book also.
Sure. Okay. I think I'm looking forward to your next presentation then to learn a little bit about that, because I think I had a wrong introduction to holacracy. If I'm thinking of the same literature, and maybe someone in the chat can help me out, I came to it because this is what David Allen from Getting Things Done was talking about. And he, at one stage, was proposing this idea that a company could sort of run itself. The theory was that if you empowered your employees enough, if you gave them enough vision, gave them enough direction, enough responsibility, that the leader's job would sort of become a little bit null if you did it so well. And I always thought that was a little bit like David Allen just getting old and realizing that he couldn't pass it along to anybody else and trying to come up with this theory. I mean, I guess leadership is, I believe that's everything. And that maybe—
I mean, there's, for sure. And there's different, but this is a great proof also that in every book, in every theory, in every concept, there are some things you might like, some things you might not like. And it's not easy to fully understand them also, to grasp them, because to write the book or like this book, okay, to come back, why I actually really love this book is that Choco is talking about taking ownership, how to do this, but how to get to the people who don't even care about this, or they don't even understand. And I really enjoyed the part in this book. They described how to get from level 2 of really like my life sucks to my life is great. I'm not even talking about going to 4 that we can communicate or work with in a group, but just to get the people from understanding that actually it's on them. It's on them, and how to coach those people, how to mentor those people. And in this book, they gave a lot of very simple questions, simple tools of how to use it. So even like I don't need to like the whole tribal leadership book. I don't need to the full system, but at least that part I really took for myself, and I really like those questions of how to approach them and how to make them think that okay, actually it might be a little bit on you also. But as you know, we can't go to a person and say, hey, take ownership. That's just gonna throw them to defense, and it's not helping anyone.
Sure. So I agree with you. The book is very precise about giving how we can help someone. So if we're in that disenfranchised organization, that okay, and the stereotype would be any government organization you've ever had a stereotype about is that idea, or somebody who works in a big company and doesn't like that, or feels that they don't have a say or where they're going with this, that they feel cynical. So the book's talking about here, encourage these connections. So the dyad, the one-on-one, yes, we want to get past that, but as you say, we've got to take it step by step. So if you have no connections, if you have no network, then some network is a start. So making some connections, seeing that value. And I guess it sounds pretty obvious, but it was hard for me because I'm an only child. And I so instinctively have this feeling like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll work harder. I'll get it done. And that's actually one of the telltale signs of someone who's kind of really stuck in stage 3, that you think that if you just work harder, if you just read some great new book or have some great new bit of advice, then you'll be better. If I just read the new book, I'll take that course and then I'll be all right. That's a really key sign that you're stuck at a stage 3, because you think again that the solution lies within you. If only I work a little harder, if only I try or do, and if only I was different. Well, yes, if only you were different. If you were different, that you were making more bonds and more connections. So this is one of those little signs. And I've got to admit, I certainly feel that. And I think that, well, they say that 48% of companies, and you would say maybe people, are at that stage. I think that this is also a lot of what drives our self-help industry. Maybe even it's what driving people to come to us. They think that if they just learn some other skill, that, oh, if I just learn this new calendar technique, this new, I'll just take time blocking and then everything will be great. When actually the secret is the network. The secret is giving away control.
Yeah, exactly. I really like how you emphasize network, because I saw Preet was asking also, like, how have we used it, or how, for example, I have used it. I think for just like a fruit for thought for anyone who is in leadership position. How many networking events do you make? Of course, we hope that people talk to each other anyway. We hope that they get along with each other. They, I don't know, even visit each other after work. But oftentimes I see the employees are not very happy with social events. Oh, why do I have to come after work? Or why do I have to do this? Or why do I have to do that? Or we have some training events on weekends, and then we got sometimes people complaining that, hey, why do I have to be here on weekend? And actually, this comes back to the leaders. Why do I make it difficult or hard for people to actually communicate? And I really liked it at Triot Systems. When I was working there, we had this like a custom that every month we had one lunch together, and every birthday, everyone who had a birthday that month, they were like we said happy birthday to them, and we had like pizza and then some cake and then some stuff, and company paid for those things. And it was kind of, everyone had to come there except like very extreme cases. But it took maybe an hour and a half, but not more, not 2 hours, I don't think. But it was a possibility for all the departments to come together. Of course, we were not huge. It was like 50 to 70 people, depending on the time. But still, employer made it available that during work time, we had a social event. And it was actually very well greeted. Everyone liked it. It was a nice meeting. So I actually encourage this a lot, because this is a perfect example of the employer encouraging networking. And it can be whichever way is most suitable for your group. But if you don't do it at all, if you have zero social events, if you have zero getting together, like, of course, like having some drinks, that works usually the fastest and the greatest. And I'm working in an international big or like projects, and of course all the main decisions are actually done at the dinner. So that's where are the main discussions, or the discussions get to the questions that we actually need, which oftentimes are not asked at the official meeting. So this is the perfect example, again, socializing, networking, and it must be done like consciously. It is not enough if you just hope, oh, it will work. No, you have to plan for it. You have to actually do it. You have to provide funds, material, time, mostly time for it.
I like the way you worded that there. We see it all the time. So Combat Ready, we're giving training courses. People, okay, whether it's the weekend, sure. People say, hey, it was a great training course, but I had to come in on my Saturday. Fair enough. Fair enough. But these little comments can also be signs that you or your tribe or your whole company is working at a stage 2 mentality. I see it a lot. Through my work with Comedy Estonia, I'm hosting company parties. So that can be summer days, or maybe there's just a night out. We go to Pärnu, we go to the spa, or maybe we have some lectures in the afternoon, then we have a dinner and a night at the spa or something like that. So many times have I heard the term, oh, this is enforced fun, enforced entertainment, enforced learning. And I would say now extreme ownership says it's not the fault of that employee. That attitude should be a signal to management, to leadership, that they need to do more to explain these values. And to riff a little bit more about what you were saying, Martin, that the company needs to give first. So we've got 40 hours in a week. Let's say we're deep in stage 2. Well, I come at 9, I leave at 5. It's a 40-hour week, and then I go home. The company, in any time when we're building relationship capital, we need to give first. If you want someone to trust you, you've got to trust them first. If you want someone to listen to you, you've got to listen to them first. You need to give. As a leader, you need to give first. You can't expect your people to give to you. And I think to implement this idea at that level is you need to take that time out of company time, that it can't be their personal life. If someone's deep in a stage 2 mindset, I clock off at 5 and then that's it. And if you make me stay, I'll do it, but enforced fun. Okay. Give them that. And then give them that time. And then also make sure that then your employees don't have to make up for that later. Like, take it out of your pocket first. And like you were saying, that needs to build up over time. That at first, yes, okay, the people are going to be like, oh, it's enforced fun. All right, maybe they think it's enforced fun this time. But the next time and the next time and the next time things improve, all of a sudden they are talking. All of a sudden they are seeing the value of these things.
Exactly. And it actually happens usually much quicker. And I'm not saying it's easy. Like the big companies we work with, also like the very big Estonian companies. That, I mean, I've seen many of their like company events, and it's hard. It's not easy to provide something, especially for the people who have been there for a long time, to still provide something interesting and so on. But Priit also asked about language, and I think this is very important. How to understand what language are they using. If they're complaining about these events, I mean, then something is wrong. I mean, we have to listen to the people also. But the best example, I think, is if you hear someone complaining. Let's say someone is complaining at those events. Also, those are perfect for complaining to each other of what is everything is wrong, or complaining about your boss, which is actually even it can, how to say, not backfire, but in a positive way backfire. If everyone is complaining about the boss, it actually unites people. It's a military. I wouldn't call it tactics or strategy, but some military leaders do it. If they need a common enemy, let me be the common enemy. Let everyone hate me, so that at least they will work together. So it's an actual tactic that they're using. But how to actually solve it in a good way? If I hear someone complaining about someone else, and what I've used myself quite many times is, okay, if I hear this, first of all, you cannot argue, because you have to first of all agree at least a little bit, because then you kind of gain the access, or you gain the right to comment anything. Because as soon as you argue that no, that boss is a great guy, then you make a conflict, and then you have a problem. But you have to be like smoothly go get into this conversation that he's not doing a great job like for the last month or something, and but what do you think? Why is he doing this? So you actually try to make that person think about the situation, or make that person think about that person. So why do you think why he's acting like this, or why do you think why are we doing like this as a company right now, or why do you think, and so on. So you kind of ask open questions. It doesn't have to be why, but somehow you need to open up the discussion, and then you make the person you guide the person with the question to understanding that, but actually there's a reason why he's doing. We've been actually that boss is a pain in the ass, because we've actually not been we have not managed to deliver what we promised, and so on, or we're not getting any more customers, or we're not managing to provide courses on a decent level anymore, or so on and so on. So there's usually like a lot of different ways to communicate, but you need to be very cautious of that. If you learn if you hear the language that you don't like, or if you learn the language that you understand that it's not supportive, actually, it's not getting us to the level 4. And why I like the levels also is that you're never on one level for too long. It's very hard. You mentioned that level 5 is almost like for a very short period of time, but it's very common to move between 3 and 4 also. And in some situations, you may fall back to 2. So you're like, oh my God, I'm actually complaining about everything. I'm at level 2, but okay, how do I get back to 3? How do I get back to 4? So you have to always be very cautious of the language that you hear in the group, and the language that you yourself actually use also. And if you can recognize these patterns or these some words, and this book, if you haven't read it, anyone who's listening, I really recommend that. It's giving a lot of very concrete examples of this wording means this. And if the more I think about these things, the more I'm agreeing. Like he's done a great research of putting this together.
Yeah, that use of language, and I this is about the 3rd time I've emphasized this point, because it hit me like a truck today when I read this line as I was preparing for this, that the best teams don't write their slogans, don't write their values, don't write their mission all over the office on every bit of paper on the back of the card. They speak it. They talk about it. Doesn't mean, I don't want to be like, they live it. It's not meant to be so wishy-washy like that. But these phrases, the ideas are worked into what the leader is saying every day. And by working those into what's being said every day, everybody else will start doing it. I have a combat ready example to reflect upon what we do about the way that language comes to us. We want to help people. We want to guide them. We want to mentor them. We want to learn from them. We want to collaborate with them. We want to, I'm dancing around the word that I'm coming to here. However, we have in Combat Ready specifically chosen the word support, that we say we want to support you, that we want to support the customer. And we talk to customers. We say, hey, here's Combat Ready. Here's what we do. If you can think of a way that we can support you, let us know. We're using this use of language. And I know it comes from you. I've heard it. I talk a lot to Remo, so I've really heard that many times from him. And he uses that word like every day. He uses that in regular conversations. And at first it sounded a bit weird to me. And I don't mean just like Remo talking sounded weird, but it was obviously a very specifically chosen word. And I guess my bullshit radar did go off at first a little bit. Oh, okay. I'm hearing a very specifically chosen word said to me. And that's just, again, that stage 2 single only child brain coming back at me a little bit there. But as it's been used so much in the organization, I've come to understand its value. I've come to understand just sort of subconsciously what it means. And I've come to understand the value of using that word. It means something to us. It means something in our organization. We all say to each other, how can I support you today? It's not what can I do for you today? What can I help you with today? We've got this common language that, first of all, I think describes what we do very well. But tribes have common languages. We have words. You and your friends all have in-jokes and phrases and things. Well, we have that as well. We say we're going to support you. And I really like that word support. So leadership is important to kind of wrap up that question. Sorry, the words that we choose are important. And I think that the leader has to find a million different ways to say the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I just when you were talking, 2 things came to my mind. I think I forgot the one already, but okay, let me get on the other one. Maybe I'll remember exactly the wording and what we are and how and what we talk about. And you mentioned level 5 before, and it is really hard to understand it. Okay, what does it really mean? How do I understand that I'm doing it? But it's also in the language. So, for example, in our context in Combat Ready, if I think that we are great, that at some point we are at level 4 and we're really understanding, and we are like how to say nicely, we are killing it. We are like scoring very high scores everywhere, and the feedback is great, and we see that the customers actually get better thanks to us, and they achieve much more thanks to us, and so on. So it's awesome. But as long as we say that we are great, it means exactly that some other leadership consultant or some other instructor is not good. And actually, I've been very much like watching my own language in this case. Every time I talk to a customer, we often ask, like, okay, who was your last instructor, or what did you, or what kind of training have you got before? And so it helps us to understand what the team is used to already, or what they have done, and not to actually kind of make the others not to bash them, or not to say that, oh no, forget what he said. But we literally, or I literally believe that any training they already had or have had at any point of time, it's actually very good for them. Anyone who's getting them from level 2 or level 3 to a little bit higher is already good. So we actually, if you hear any of the combat training instructors to say anything bad about another instructor from another company, this would be a bad sign. I don't know. I'm at very, very few customer meetings nowadays, but actually customers, if you hear this, let me know. I would be very, very interested of knowing, because actually what helps us is if Estonia, the leadership culture in Estonia, in Europe, is getting stronger. If someone else is doing it better than we are doing, go to them. It's not a problem at all. I've actually personally recommended many other coaches. I recommended many other leadership trainings if I understand that we are not the perfect fit for this customer. But the important is that they are actually putting effort into developing their people. They're putting effort and time and money and everything to actually getting their leadership culture to a better level. And it's helping everyone. So it's not that we must do it and I think this is hopefully getting us closer to level 5, that we are really supporting everyone who is supporting the leadership culture development.
I think what you're saying really speaks to the idea of humility and the ego. And this is something we talk a lot in our courses when we're training customers. That we where am I going with this? I feel that the battle with the ego is important. And I'm almost getting to the stage where I'm starting to enjoy when my ego is hurt. I don't want to say like it's like some weird like dominatrix kind of thing. I don't mean like that. I mean that when I feel my ego being poked, that I'm learning to address it and learning to deal with my own emotions. So we need to make that separation that I think a lot of people are idiots. In my brain, that's my wiring. That's not what I want to project to the world. I can see that if I go around even thinking like there's also the conscious reaction, and then you consciously react to that. I often have a unconscious, instantaneous reaction like, those other leadership consultants, they're idiots. Someone else doesn't know what they're doing. But I even correct myself in my own brain to say, no, Louis, whoa. You need to stop for a moment and think about that. Why did that person get there? They're not an idiot. Maybe it's you. And that this struggle inside of yourself is conscious and you are working on it is important. We say intent has a smell. So I'm not hiding it. But I'm trying to better myself by catching my instantaneous thoughts. And when someone pokes my ego, when I hear about some other consultant doing work and I think, oh, I could do better. I think, whoa. Okay, brother, you felt that thought. All right. How are we going to address that? And then consciously work my way through it. And you get better with it over time. But we need to consciously be working on our ego. So I certainly hope that's never expressed outwardly. And I'm also trying to fix inwardly at the same time, because like you say, I believe that no, those people aren't our competitors. And that's some old monkey brain thinking from me that says those people are competition. I need to get rid of monkey brain thinking, and I need to consciously replace that with some higher level thinking. Ooh, good. All right,
exactly.
mate. So we've been going for over an hour now. We wanted to keep these ones short and wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Martin, thank you very much for joining me here today and fielding the questions. Thank you to everyone who was in the chat. Thank you for your watching there. We are combat ready. We teach leadership through the lens of battlefield experiences. These lessons are applicable to life. They're applicable to your personal relationships. They're applicable everywhere. So if you want to learn more information, you can go to combatready.ee. You can also go to combatreadyacademy.com. That's our English language academy where you can learn more about this stuff, or just follow us on LinkedIn. My name's Louis Zezeran. You can find me. I'm not that hard to find. You can find Martin. Kadrian, I see you in the chat. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. My name's Louis, signing out for now. Good. All right. Stream's off.